Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to make a quick video answering a couple of questions that you guys had for me. I was out running some errands with my dog, and I was thinking of some of the questions you guys had while I was driving, and I thought I should just go ahead and make the video and respond to some of your questions. Really, just one question that you guys had, and it's like, how did I get here? A couple of you guys have messaged me asking, like, what was my story? How did I get here? And I was going to get to that eventually, but why not just go ahead and do it now, since it's something that you guys are asking about. By the way, I'm in the car right now with my dogs. I think you've met two of them, but there's this one right here is Mike. No, he disappeared. Mycroft. Mycroft. Mycroft? Why are you hiding? There's Mycroft right there, and you guys met Agatha, and Lily is sleeping right there. And then the monster that started this whole club right here, this is Ichabod. Ichabod. This is my baby. He is I love all my monsters, but he is the baby. He's the one that started this whole thing. So I apologize for the shaky camera. I have to hold it, and then I have dogs like crawling all over me. And I apologize for the sound. They need the window down. But I'm gonna get through this, and I hope you get through this with me. So you guys wanted to know, like, how did I get to the situation? So basically, I worked at a TV station. For almost 20 years, and I was getting to the point where I was just getting burnt out, and it was becoming a really bad, toxic work environment, and I knew that I just needed to get out. I didn't have any plans to transition to a new job or transition to a new career. I just knew that I needed to get out, and as it happened, my mom was getting to the point where she needed a bit of care and companionship. She was elderly, living all alone in the house that I grew up in, and she was starting to get sick way too often, needing to rush to the hospital and spend time in the hospital. So I decided to quit my job and take care of her, spend time with her. I'm not sure if it's still recording. I just got a phone call. Sorry. I'm so sorry for all the distractions. But I hope you bear with me. So I moved in to take care of my mom and hang out with my mom. And as time went on, I had a part-time job when I moved back home to spend time with her, but as time went on, she just required more and more care, more and more companionship. There were several times where she got super sick and had to be rushed to the hospital, and she spent extended periods of time in the hospital. But more so than that, she needed someone around, because she was just getting to that age where she was forgetting things. There were many times where I'd come home from work and I hear beeping, and it's the microwave, and I'm like, hey mom, did you microwave something? And she's like, oh, I forgot about that. I heated up my coffee this morning. It's like 10 o'clock at night, so she heated up or reheated a cup of coffee, forgot all about it, and she was at the point where her hearing wasn't so great, so she didn't even hear the beeping, and there was a couple of times where, not as often with the cooking, because she knew that she was getting to the point where she was forgetting the stove, so towards the end, she wasn't cooking as much, because she knew enough to realize that she was forgetting to turn off the stove. But there was a couple of incidents like that where she forgot to turn off the stove, and I'd come out of my room and I smell something burning. So she wasn't cooking as much, but she did cook from time to time. It was more so the microwave, or she would forget, other things. And so clearly she just needed someone around more and more often. And then she was starting to get sick more and more often. And that's just, that's part of the cycle of life when you're reaching the end of your cycle of life. So it got to the point where I had to quit working and be with her 24/7. And I basically just burned through all my savings. I didn't have that much to begin with, to be perfectly frank, but I burned through all my savings. Um, and then it got to the point where, and then at some point when we were hanging out, she had mentioned that she was going to gift me the house that we were living in as a thank you for me taking care of her and being with her. And I wasn't doing this because I was getting a house out of it. I was doing it because she's my mother and she needed someone to be with her. And to be perfectly frank, I didn't even want the house. I didn't, for me, the house has so many bad memories, so many negative memories. I couldn't, not that I was looking forward to her passing on, but I couldn't wait for me to move on and get the heck out of that town, because that town just holds so many bad memories for me. But she told me that she was going to gift me the house as a thank you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. All my siblings knew about it, and they were like, yeah, we don't even care. We don't even want the house. You're the one that's taking care of mom. That's all yours, whatever. So you fast forward a little bit to where my mom passes away. Um, I got a call from the nurse one night. It was about 1:30 in the morning, about 1 o'clock in the morning, got a call. And for some reason, I don't know why, but the nurse felt like I needed to be there. Like this was it. So I rushed to the hospital. Oh, my mom was in the hospital at this point. And it was to the point where it looked like she'd gone to the hospital, got really sick, gone to the hospital. And then after a few weeks, she was well enough to come back home. And then she'd be well for a few months and then get sick again for whatever reason, rush back to the hospital, get better, then come back home. That was like the pattern. And then for some reason, the nurse felt like, this was it. Like she's not going to get better. And for some reason, he called me at 1 o'clock in the morning to say, you need to get down here. So I rushed down to the hospital. And at this point, my mom was on pain medication. She wasn't really alert. She was basically sleeping. And all the doctors could do was just like give her medication to ease the pain. There was nothing that they can do to fix the problems that she had. They can just alleviate the pain as she, transitions. And so I get the call from the nurse telling me to rush down there. I rush down there, and I'm like in her room with her, just me and her, and occasionally the nurse would come in. And then she passed on later on that night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, about 2:30 in the morning. She'd passed on. And sorry if I'm getting quiet. I hope you guys can hear me. She passed on, and that was the end of that part of my life with my mom. And so then started the whole new journey of my life without my mom. And I had burned through all my savings. Literally, when she passed away, I think I remember having like $2.17 to my name. And I had gotten to the point where, because she required so much care, I really didn't have that many friends to begin with. But I had even fewer friends because I just didn't have a social life. And the only person that I really was able to talk to was this lady at the local McDonald's that I would go to late at night, just to grab a soda. And she would sort of share some things that was going on in her life. Her father was battling cancer, and it was terminal, and we would sort of share and commiserate. And after my mom had passed, it was weird because she was the very first person that I told. I went to the McDonald's drive-through where she normally worked, and I got my normal soda, and she could tell that something was different. And I'm like, my mom passed away about 30 minutes ago, and we talked and cried, and and that was that. So now I'm dealing with the house and um, transitioning ownership and all that kind of stuff. And all this happened pre-COVID. So now it's becoming a while ago. It's pre-COVID. Um, and so I didn't have a job. I didn't have money. All I had was the house. And so my first thing was, I, rather than try and find a job, I will start renting out rooms. So that's the first thing I did in terms of like creating instant income. I started renting out rooms. So I had several roommates in the house, and um, I started working on transitioning ownership into my name. And then COVID hit, and all the courthouses shut down. And I thought, well, my siblings all know that my mom wanted me to have the house, so I was not in a big hurry to put everything legally in my name, especially since all the courts were shut down. Nothing was happening in terms of legally. But my attorney at the time told me, just as long as you're paying any of the bills, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're paying the taxes, you'll be fine. Um, so two things happened along the way. One, I thought the house was paid off free and clear. I had no idea that my mom still had a mortgage. And one of the things you need to understand is, even though I chose to take care of my mom and I never really had a close relationship. I never had a close relationship with my siblings or my mom. I was always the outcast. But I stepped up and took care of my mom. So my mom never told me that there was a mortgage. I found out later on when, um, notices were starting to be posted on the door: pay X amount of dollars or you're going to lose your house. And that's how I first found out. They did send letters, um, but at the time I thought it was all, they were sending letters to my mom, but at the time I thought they were all like junk mail, because my mom was still getting, like credit card applications from banks, AARP letters, and all kinds of, she was still getting all types of mail that I just assumed was junk mail. And part of that was those letters from the mortgage company. So I wasn't paying any attention to that. And then, like I said, my first um, interaction or any realization that there was a mortgage was when notices were being posted on the door. So then, I started working on trying to take care of that. But at that point, they wanted way more money than I had. And because the house was not in my name, I couldn't stop anything, because they were going to put the house up for auction if I didn't pay. And then in addition to that, my siblings found out that, no barking. They see a couple of dogs. Sorry. My siblings found out that my mom's will was easily contestable. So once they found that out, all of a sudden they changed their tune. They felt like they deserved their fair share. And they didn't think it was fair that I was getting the house. So then the house was going up for auction. I couldn't do anything to stop or block that. And then whatever was left was going into probate. My siblings were some of my siblings were actually trying to block my efforts to try and take ownership of the house, because they knew that it would end up in probate, then everything would be split amongst me and my siblings. So I ended up becoming homeless because I lost the house. I think I could have easily found a flat, an apartment, if it was just me, or if it was just me and one dog or two dogs, but I have four. And I know it sounds weird, but if it weren't for these dogs, I would not have been able to get through what it takes to take care of my aging, ailing mother, who I had a difficult relationship with. My dogs kept me from slipping into a deep depression. My dogs kept me laughing when all I wanted to do was cry. And I know it sounds silly, they're just dogs, but they really did save my life. So there was no way I was going to reward their love, their loyalty, by putting them in an animal shelter just so I can get an apartment. So I made the conscious effort or conscious choice to keep all of us together, and we were just going to stay in my car. At that point, the only thing I had ownership of was my car. And so the four of us, we moved into my car and I can make it work. And I don't know if you guys have any experience when it comes to probate and, wills and all of that. Um, this was my first time dealing with it. And my attorneys at the time were telling me, oh, originally they were telling me it should be a matter of months. And then months would go by and they're like, oh, just a few more months. And then for some strange reason, they're like, oh no, we can't give you a definitive end date. We never know how long these things take. These things could take years. And I'm like, why didn't you guys tell me that to begin with? So here I am doing things like, I did DoorDash for a while, but it was too much wear and tear on my car. And then I was doing house cleaning for a while. Anything to make money and keep me and my dogs together. I did. I was fortunate to have a friend that allowed me to stay in their shed for a number of months, but it was obvious that it was getting to the point where this was also the shed that she did her work in. So while I was there, she was not able to do her work. She was a crafter. She started a shop where she sold her crafts, mostly with furniture. So it's like big furniture that needed reupholstering, painting, and here I was taking up that space. So after a few months, it was becoming obvious that she needed that space back. And I didn't want to take up. I don't want to be a nuisance to anybody. So by the grace of God, I was able to find an apartment. I moved into the apartment, but I moved into the apartment under the guise of I was going to start working with this person who was going to take her shop to the next level, and I was going to be a part of it. So I moved into an apartment that was like a block and a half away from the shop, and then out of nowhere, she decides to take her shop to a better location, and I was not in a position to go to that location and do what I wanted to do. So what ended up happening was they moved to the new location. It became an opportunity for me to open up a cafe. So I opened up a cafe in that old location, and it was a success. Not a huge success, but you can see the progress. It started off really, really well. The locals were coming in and hanging out and buying coffee, telling all their friends, and it was becoming a success. I not only was it a cafe, but I had on one side was a cafe, and on the other side I had it as a shop for local artisans to sell their wares. And then on weekends I would have like live music, jazz music, and people would come and listen to live jazz, and they would dance and drink coffee. And I paired up with she wasn't a restaurant, but she, I guess for lack of a better word, catering. She had like her own catering company, and she did Peruvian food, and so it's like Peruvian dishes. She had her beer and wine license, so it's like food, beer. Hey, quiet. Food, beer, wine, the cafe part was open. People were buying coffee and tea, and it was people were dancing and hanging out and celebrating. It was amazing. And then, like with anyone who goes for their dreams, there's always going to be someone who, a hater, who, no barking. There's always going to be a hater that's jealous that you're going for your dreams and they're not. So then all of a sudden, I was getting these random calls, complaints to the health department, and they would come and they wouldn't find any problems the first 2 or 3 times, and then the fourth time they came around, because with the health department they have to answer, they have to follow up on all the complaints, whether it's real or bogus. So every time the health department would come out, the first couple of times they didn't find anything, but they would always look for something. And then by the fourth time, there were some issues with the building, and I was renting the building, and the landlord was not going to make the repairs. In addition to that, the landlord, above the, I feel like this is becoming a really long story, and I apologize, but this is all like what led me to where I'm at now. So above the cafe were apartment buildings, and the landlord, building owner slash building owner, was working on apartments, and I was getting to the point where I was just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and pay for the repairs to the building, because I wanted to get my coffee shop open. At this point, the health department had closed the cafe, and I couldn't reopen it until these things were taken care of. And the landlord was doing repairs to get the upstairs apartment up and running, and he was not, he wasn't a plumber, an electrician. He was just someone who thought that being a landlord was a good way to have passive income. And so he was doing all this work on his own as much as he could to save money, which I understand. But right when I had decided, and I wish I had my other phone stopped working. I think I'm pretty sure I can still get access to it. But right when I had decided that I was going to move forward and get these repairs done, he was working upstairs, and all of a sudden water just started leaking down, pouring into my cafe. I was there, one customer was there. At that point, I was not able to make drinks, but I could sell pre-made drinks like canned sodas or prepackaged foods. So I was there with that, and then the artisan side was still open. I was still able to sell the artisan's wares. So I was there, one customer was there, and then all of a sudden all this water just started pouring down because the landlord was working on plumbing and crossed pipes or whatever he did, and all this water just came flooding down. I'm sitting there watching and recording water coming through the light fixtures, and I'm just like, this place is gonna fry. And I thought, and that was like actually the second time there was a flooding. And so I thought, you know what, this is a sign you need to get the F out of here. So the cafe closed and never reopened. That was my main source of income. So I didn't have a source of income. I was still trying to do things like make candles and sell candles and get my online shop going. But when the cafe opened, that was my priority. I was there from open to close, making the drinks myself, opening, setting up, closing, cleaning, preparing for the next day, all that kind of stuff. So that took precedence. So when the cafe closed, I was left yet again unemployed, and needing a way to make money to pay rent. So I went back to house cleaning. But it was just, I don't know, once you had a taste of like your dream, and then you have to go to something like house cleaning, and there's nothing wrong with house cleaning. It's a respectable job. It pays really well. But I went from working in my dream to like my face in toilets, scrubbing toilets, and it really effed with my brain and my depression. And so it just got to the point where I just couldn't do that. Trying to get my online shop going again, but all the momentum I had built up with that was gone because I had redirected my focus to the cafe. So then I was trying to redirect my focus back to my online shop and rebuild that, but it was taking too long. So then fast forward to the opportunity to work at Amazon, and Amazon pays really well. I guess with any job, there's always these negatives, but there's also positives. And I hated working at Amazon, but it was a reliable job. And they paid fairly well for what the type of work that you do. And from day one, they offer you medical, dental, 401k. They start you off with like a number of hours of sick leave, and they start you off with time for paid vacation, like all that from day one. So they offer a lot. So if you're ever looking for, a job, I hope this isn't going to turn out too shaky with me holding it. The caffeine is kicking in. So if you ever need a job, I would try Amazon. It's a lot of hard work, but try Amazon if you're ever looking for a job. And then I was there for a few months, but then I injured my shoulder to the point where I couldn't work. It was painful to even pick up, I don't want to say her name because she's sleeping, but my smallest dog, which is only 2 pounds. It was painful to even try to pick her up and carry her. And she only weighed 2 pounds. So clearly there was no way I could work at Amazon, where they require you to move 50 pounds, every second, every couple of seconds. You're just moving boxes, you're hustling. Eventually had to stop working there. So here I am. And I was behind in rent. And the landlady was super, super nice. But it got to the point where I couldn't continue to live there and not pay her. That was just completely unfair to her. So I moved out and I was back in my car again. So now fast forward to today. Basically homeless. I'm staying at a friend's house in a room, but that house is 30 minutes from the office where I'm working. It's a 30-minute drive. So I was staying mostly in the office, and I felt like it was okay to stay in the office as long as I was working. And Lord knows that I was working. Because I think I mentioned before in a previous video that, it's a workplace. They're not zoned for residents. You're not allowed to live there. But the manager told me I have 24-hour access. I can be there working day or night for as long as I want. And that's what I was doing. I was working. And, she told me there are other artists that will work, and then take a nap and then get back to work. So I'm like, cool, that's what I'll do. And then now I'm at the point where she's telling me that people are complaining that I'm living there. She thinks that I'm living there. And I'm like, I don't understand. I get that I'm here a lot, yes, but I'm not living here. I'm working. And so I made the mistake of trying to convince her of what I'm doing. And I read a quote somewhere this morning that just really hit home. It's like something, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, don't waste your time trying to convince people who already have an image of what you are. You're not going to change their mind. You're not going to convince them. So I'm just going to continue to do what I need to do. And if she feels the need to, if she still thinks that I'm living there and she feels the need to evict me, then that's what she needs to do. But basically, that's how I got here. I took care of my mom for a number of years. It drained my savings, and I wasn't, the last year and a half, I wasn't able to work because I was taking care of my mom. And then when she passed, I inherited the house, and I immediately started putting the house to work. But then my siblings got greedy and blocked any effort I had to try and fix the problem with the mortgage company. house went into foreclosure. The money went to gosh, what's the word? I'm sorry. Probate court. And if with any of you guys who know anything about probate, it takes a long time, longer than I thought. It took years. So by the time everything was settled with the probate, um, the house was worth, like, I think $550,000, but because it was sold at an auction, it got way less than that. So what was left over, minus what was owed to the mortgage company, went into probate. So probably, I think it sold for like maybe 300, minus what was owed to the mortgage, split 4 ways, minus taxes, minus attorney fees. By the time I got my cut, I had already generated thousands of dollars in bills. So everything that I had went to everybody else. And so I ended up back in my car with my 4 dogs, working in Amazon. And then now I hurt my shoulder and can't work in Amazon. So in a previous video, I had talked about the title of a movie and book. I never read the book. I never saw the movie, but the title just seems like it fit my life, what's going on in my life right now. And it's Lemony Snicket and the series of unfortunate events. And that's just basically what's been going on in my life. It's just a series of unfortunate events. And there have been days when I've been like super, super depressed and unable to get up and going, get going, feeling unmotivated. There have definitely been many, many days like that. But for some strange reason, I keep going, and I still feel like there's something within me that's going to make my dreams come true. So that's where I'm at. That's how I ended up in this situation. I took time out to take care of my mom, inherited the house, lost the house. Let this be a huge lesson to you guys. Make sure that your wills are ironclad. To ensure that who gets what goes to who gets what. Probate is no joke. It's not fun. Especially, when it comes to money, it changes siblings. And my siblings didn't care for me. My siblings didn't care for me to begin with, so it was already going to be an ugly battle. So that's how I ended up here. But I'm with my dogs. They drive me crazy, but in a very good way. And I see glimpses of success with my business. I see the future with my online shop. So that's where I'm at. I'm just going to keep plugging forward. I'm sorry this is taking so long, and I'm sorry that I rambled and it's being shot outside where there's like outside noise and I have to hold it. But I just felt like I needed to do this now, or I wasn't going to do it for a while. And you guys had questions, so I want to be as transparent as I could possibly be. So that's where I'm at. I hope you guys watch this video and understand where I'm coming from. Please, no judgments, no harsh words. I'm trying to keep this platform as positive as possible, so please, no negative comments. But feel free to leave comments if you want. Share some of your stories with me. I'm here to listen as well. This platform is all about all of us lifting each other up and getting us through the next day. So feel free to leave a comment. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm gonna do this channel whether I make money or not, but YouTube is making it easier for us to monetize to get to that level. And so it helps me if you guys subscribe and like this channel and keep watching and sharing this time with me, and I'll keep sharing this time with you guys. So thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up with all this noise, and putting up, oh my gosh, look at this. I don't know if you can see it. Look at this one, just watching. My dogs are just chilling while I'm like pouring my heart out. They don't oblivious, but they keep me sane in a very insane way. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for letting me share this with you guys. And I'll talk to you guys later. This is probably going to be the final video for today. Like I said, I had problems with yesterday's video and it uploaded earlier today, and I'm going to upload this one today. So you get 2 today, so that's enough. I'll follow up with everything I talked about yesterday in tomorrow's video. So have a great day. It's almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day. It's pretty sunny here in the Bay Area. It's a gorgeous day, so I'm going to take my dogs for a quick walk before I head back to the office and get back to work. So thanks again. Have a great day. Bye.